let's see here. This is for me like Nerd City. This is episode number 53.
Okay.
Badass Records podcast, hanging with James Inman. How's it going?
Fine.
And it's cool because that's if I'm dropping an episode a week, it's the official start of year 2. Right?
Okay.
So
all right.
I'm yay for me.
Yeah.
But so we have known each other for 10 years.
Through our
your current and my former significant other who
are both therapists.
Like to earn money for.
Is this on right now?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it can be. We get to say, if we need to stop for whatever, I'll let it roll and then I'll cut it out later.
All right.
But are you born and raised KC?
Yes.
Okay. Siblings?
Just one sister.
Okay. Yeah. Older or younger?
Older.
Okay. Mom and dad meet?
My parents?
Yes.
Oh, they got married young. I think my dad was 18. My mom was like 17 or something.
Okay.
And they just kind of eloped and they drove down to Oklahoma on New Year's Eve with another couple, and they got married on New Year's Day.
Wow.
In like 1960.
Okay.
I was born right around the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. So,
who is in office for that?
Kennedy.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
wild.
I was trying to track back. Maybe that's why I'm so obsessed with nuclear war, because
I
was born right during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
How long has that been an official? obsession?
I'm 60. So
okay.
I mean, it's 2023, but the Cuban Missile Crisis was 1961 or something like that. Maybe I was conceived during the Cuban Missile Crisis. I don't know, but
you're obsessed with nuclear war.
Yeah, that was one of my things when I was growing up. Like kids today. I mean, I'm old. I don't understand. I mean, I'm totally down. I have my own ideas about gender and
oh my God,
transgender. And
all of it now.
But it's my ideas are different from the right wing and a little bit different from the average. I actually dated a professor of gender studies and multiculturalism from the University of Washington, who went on to become a New York Times bestselling author who wrote White Fragility.
Oh,
so most of my girlfriends for the
dated
past,
that author.
Yeah, it was. I've already said this on another podcast. I don't think she'll ever find out. She won't listen to this podcast. But her name is Robin DiAngelo. I used to date her. She was like, and at the time, date her. I had an affair actually because I was with another feminist at the time.
Oh,
so
boy.
I mean, I
wow.
had a long string of feminists. And lesbians and bisexual women that I've dated. I've only been attracted to like bisexual women.
Okay.
Brenda is bisexual.
Oh, she is? Okay.
Well, she was with a woman for like 10 years before she met me.
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah, and so she doesn't like me joking about it, but
sure.
I mean, I tell her I brought her back over to the dark side.
Sure.
and
or another side that starts with D and ends with K.
I mean, we'll just get right into it. My thoughts on this whole transgender thing, when these stupid they're called scientific rationalists, where they go, well, DNA says that this is a man because it's got an XY chromosome, and this is a woman because it's got a YY chromosome. So we know exactly what a man is and exactly what a female is. And I'm like, yeah, but that has nothing to do with consciousness. Like, consciousness is beyond anything material. Consciousness is not material. Scientists don't even know what consciousness is. And so there's like this huge gray area of and people want to find out who they are, and so they use the term identity.
Right.
But to me, identity just means consciousness. It means mind, spirit. Sure. Who are you? Your soul. So to me, a male or a female is a state of mind. You
Okay.
know, you can tell.
Sure.
You can tell that that's a woman.
Oh, for sure.
And
yeah.
I'm not going to check his DNA or her DNA.
Right.
I'm like, that is somebody that is acting and wants to be identified as a woman. So, what's it matter?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
However,
Mm-hmm.
what sort of emphasis or importance do you put on pronouns and making sure that you're addressing?
Well, okay, here's another thing that a lot of people don't think of, and this is never brought up. I did a lot of. I used to read a bunch of books on the brain, and they did studies with the brain where they took, people had tumors in certain parts of their brain, and they've had to take parts of their brain out. And there's this lateralism, or where there's the left and right hemisphere. But when people are like, you can learn a language easily before the age 13. For some reason, if you're exposed to like 2 or 3 different languages when you're growing up, you can learn them real quick.
Right.
But after you're 13, it's harder to learn languages.
Okay.
And also brain injuries. Like if you get a brain injury after the age 13, it's kind of hard to get over it. But like a baby, babies can have brain injuries, and then the brain will rewire itself, and even there's people that have lost half of their brain, and that half that they had left rewired into a left and right hemisphere.
Well, and if you learn another language young, like, doesn't that open up like possibilities for learning stuff that you might
But after the age of 13, so people like from our generation, it's harder to mix and match he, she, they, them, all that. But if you're raised with it, you can do it easily.
Of course.
When these kids go, how hard is it to do? Well, it's hard. It's hard for me because it's hard for me to learn a new language.
Right.
And that's kind of what when you talk to them, they have all their buzzwords, all their language. When you talk to them and you use the words that they use, they know what you're talking about. So when I was growing up, the thing we were worried about was nuclear war.
Right.
We didn't think about, gender or homosexuality or transgender. We were worried that,
the Earth was going to...
Yeah, we're going to be extinct.
Yeah.
And so now this whole war in the Ukraine is, there's some people that have been saying that we're closer to nuclear war than we were during the Cuban Missile Crisis. We got people like Noam Chomsky and the guy Henry Kissinger both agreeing that we should not have anything to do with Ukraine.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
okay.
Yes. Henry Kissinger is a psychopath. All right. He's a war criminal. And even he says we should get the fuck out of Ukraine. All right. That's what I'm talking about.
Do we have people over there?
Well, we're not supposed to, but come on, we got CIA and we got, we got people, we got, technically, we don't have boots on the ground. Don't get me started on Ukraine because I could go all day on that.
Well,
are we supposed to be talking about music?
We'll get there. We'll get there. Are you a Jeselnik fan?
Not really.
No. Do you know his bit about dropping babies?
Oh, I haven't heard that.
I don't think I've ever held a baby to completion. You don't like him though?
Well, I'm a big Bill Hicks fan, and so when I see these guys like Jeselnik, I don't see him as being that edgy.
Well, his whole thing is to turn the joke on its head in a different way that you didn't see coming.
Right, but people look at these new comics like, Bill Burr, like all of these guys like Doug Stanhope, Bill Burr, even Dave Chappelle and Jeselnik. They're supposed to be the edgy comics, but none of them have the balls like Bill Hicks did. I'm sorry.
So his second second Netflix special opens with hanging out with his friend, and his friend has a wife that's like
Jeselnik?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Overbearing, and like she doesn't like him to hang out with him because he's a bad influence, and so they hang out this one time and she calls him, and She goes, I think you're a bad influence. I heard you. He called me. He called me a bad word the other day, and I think it's your fault. And he goes, did he call you a bitch? And she goes, no, Anthony. He didn't use the B word. And he goes, did he call you a cunt? And she goes, no, Anthony. He didn't use the C word. And he goes, then he didn't hear it from me. Oh, I love it.
That's funny,
Yeah.
but see, that's misogynist. I mean, Hicks
Well-
was talking about he's talking about these guys had a weapons catalog pulling up things. What's G13 do? Well, it says it destroys everything but the fillings in their teeth. Pull up G13. I mean, he was talking about the Iraq War. During the Iraq War, I mean, we don't have any of these comics talking about war, and we've been at war for like 20 years. I mean, that's what's so frightening to me is there's no anti-war movement. Have you seen? It's so funny. Have you seen some of these anti-war protests? There's like 15 people. You know, I mean, Americans are just. We used to have the huge anti-war movement in this country in the 60s and even during the first Iraq War.
Yeah.
You know,
I picture the scene in Forrest Gump around the Lincoln. And
it's just that's gone.
Tens
All of
of thousands of people.
Yeah, and now the liberals are becoming the new warmongers, which is like I'm old enough to remember that liberals were not pro-war.
Yeah,
and it's like almost all of them voted yes to send like what is it? Something like we're scheduled. I don't know if they voted the second time, but we're going to send Ukraine $100 billion.
Do we have that?
Well, actually, we're in some kind of debt crisis right now, and I watch CNN every day, and they were talking about we've passed the debt limit, and the government's going to shut down if they don't decide on what they're going to do about the debt limit.
Now, do you give a shit at all about what somebody might say to hearing the sentence, I watch CNN every day? Your shit is left wing and it's controlled by the fucking...
No, see, to me, I'm like left of Lenin. I mean, to me, all of them are... I mean, the difference between Fox and CNN and MSNBC, they're arguing about cultural issues. All of them agree on war, on the stuff that really matters. You know what I mean? I mean, they argue about Trump and Biden, but I mean, come on. A lot of people don't remember when Trump first got elected, there was this Schumer. What's his name? The Senator Schumer was talking to on MSNBC with the girl. What's her name? Not Marla Maples. She's the commentator with the glasses on MSNBC.
I'm the wrong guy to be asking.
Oh, because you don't watch the news.
Not at all. Not
all right. See, I'm horrible with names.
That's okay.
I'll never forget. I remember watching that when Trump got elected. It was Schumer, the senator. I can't remember his first name. Anyway, he goes. Yeah, he's going up against the intelligence agencies. You know, Trump, he was pissing off the intelligence agencies, right?
Okay.
And I remember some stuff coming out on CNN right around that time where Trump was like trying to choose his own Secret Service, you know, and they're like, we can't have him choose his own Secret Service, right? Now he's pissing off the intelligence agencies, and God, it's going to bug me. I can't remember the guy's first name. You're going to have to cut all this out.
That's all good, man.
Cut all this out. Fucking
Schumer.
Schumer. SCHUMER. Senator. Oh, God, I'm going to... Chuck Schumer.
Okay.
He was on Rachel Maddow.
Oh, yeah. I know who that is. Yeah.
And they were sitting there talking, and he goes, "Oh, he's pissing off the intelligence agencies. This is not very smart of him because the CIA has 6 weeks to Sunday to get him back." Do you remember that line?
No, get him back.
Well, they have this. The intelligence agencies have 6 days to Sunday to. I'll find the actual quote, but it was frightening, basically.
Weird.
Yes, and what that means is, ever since Kennedy, everyone's been wondering. Eisenhower said the same thing. He warned us about the military-industrial complex. Truman, when he signed the National Security Act, there's certain things in there like the CIA is not supposed to work inside the United States. They're only supposed to collect intelligence. The CIA wasn't even supposed to do covert actions. But right when Alan Dulles gets a hold of, he becomes the head of the CIA, they start doing covert actions right off the bat,
Whoa.
illegal shit, breaking laws in other countries, overthrowing governments, Guatemala, whatever, you name it. I mean, we had a secret war in South and Central America that went on for
I had a dude from the Dominican on, and he was like, the United States has invaded the Dominican twice.
Yeah.
Once to install democratic leader of sorts, and then 65 years later, when that guy was now like a horrible dictator, they invaded again to get him out.
Oh, right.
I was like, sounds like us.
Well, I mean, I don't even know where am I going with this. The 6 weeks to Sunday to get him back. And so, I'll give you an example. They're talking about these, Trump had some top secret documents that they found, right?
Yeah.
At Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
And now they're talking about how Biden had some top secret documents.
Oh, great.
I mean, that's
At least
all
we're
they've been talking
consistent.
about. One thing they're not talking about, which is really odd, is the Twitter files, which are these things that after Elon Musk took over Twitter, he released all this information, all these facts about how our intelligence agencies, FBI, CIA, blah blah blah, and Democratic Party and Republican Party were just basically calling up Twitter and going, "Hey, you gotta block this guy or shadow ban him or make it so nobody can see this tweet." Really frightening stuff, and they're not talking about it on Fox. They're not talking about. They might be talking about it on Fox. I don't watch Fox.
But do they know that this?
Oh, there's like 7 of them that came out. Matt Taibbi has been the one, and this other New York Times journalist, I forget her name, but they've been there's 7 of them, and they show you just plain as day how our intelligence agencies were in cahoots with Twitter to manufacture consent, to mold Twitter to where certain things don't become viral, certain things don't start trending,
Wow.
So, I mean, for me, I'm old enough to remember, I know people freaked out when Trump was elected. I didn't like the guy either. I've never voted Republican, but when he got elected, it was obvious that the mainstream media had a hard-on to somehow discredit him.
Sure.
But one of the reasons why, I think the big reason why the mainstream media and the intelligence agencies and everyone that has real power in America, they didn't like the fact that Trump wanted to bring the troops home. Trump wanted to put an end to these wars. People forget Obama ran on an anti-war platform. Obama promised to bring the troops home. He gets in office. He couldn't do shit. Obama couldn't even close down Guantanamo. Obama said he was going to close down Guantanamo.
Why would he want to do that?
Because people after 9/11, people were tired of this global war on terror. After Bush couldn't find those weapons of mass destruction, people were like, something stinks to high heaven here. This smells like bullshit. So by the time Obama got into office, I remember him talking about bringing the troops home from Afghanistan, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's like, yeah, and we voted him in. He got in. He didn't do shit. He actually started a secret war against Syria to try to get Assad out. Obama blew more people up with drones than Bush did.
No shit.
Yeah. And then so this went on for 8 years. Trump, I remember when he was running against Hillary Clinton, and I knew right when he was going to lose was when they were having those debates and Hillary Clinton started talking about how Assad was dangerous. I was like, oh shit, here we go. She's going to start talking some pro-war hawkish bullshit about Assad. She's going to lose because people are tired of war.
Interesting.
And so Trump gets in there. He made those jokes about weapons of mass destruction. You know, Bush. Remember when Bush ran in the primaries against Trump?
No.
Oh, you weren't watching. Well, I mean, people hated the Bushes. That's why they wanted
not,
Trump.
A different Bush, not one of the two Bushes that have already been in office. Right, like Jeb or something.
Yeah, it was Jeb Bush.
Okay, yes,
and
I
so
remember that. Yeah.
Nobody liked him.
No,
they wanted Trump.
Yeah,
and and Trump was talking about like doing something with these wars, like putting it like he didn't want to go into Syria. You know, he wanted to bring the troops home from Afghanistan. This is a Republican. A lot of people don't realize. When I was growing up, Republicans were the right-wing, warmongering assholes.
Feeding that military-industrial complex.
Right. But I mean, Eisenhower's Republican, but I mean, Eisenhower warned us about the military-industrial complex.
Which means that going to war is a business that we need to participate in to keep money.
It happened. Basically, they get so much power. The intelligence agencies and the military-industrial complex get so much power that they end up running everything.
Oh,
that's why I brought up those top secret files that they found. Trump had at Mar-a-Lago, and now they're talking about the top secret files that Biden had. Well, last time I checked, the president runs the country, not the CIA. You know, that was why Eisenhower
that's what's in our social studies
so
books.
who's running this shit show anyway? Is it the CIA or is it the president?
Right.
That's what's frightening to me. Not that Trump was frightening. I didn't like him. Never voted Republican day in my life. But it was obvious that they had some kind of hard-on to get him out of office or try to twist his arm to bomb somebody, or I mean, they wanted to start funding that war in Ukraine. You know,
really?
Oh yeah. I think this war in Ukraine has been planned for a long time.
No shit.
Oh yeah. They've got documents. Dude, don't even get me. You've already got me started. I've been wanting to talk about this for so long. I know because when I was growing up, all I read were books on national security, intelligence, CIA.
Seriously?
Oh, I can't count how many books on the CIA.
At what age are you reading this shit?
Well, I'm talking not conspiracy books. I'm talking books at the goddamn library.
Yeah, but how old are you reading all this?
I'm 60.
No, when you're reading this stuff.
Oh, I was in my 20s and 30s.
Wow,
This
okay.
is before the internet.
Sure.
You know, so you can't. I was just interested in the CIA. So, I can remember reading books about the CIA and Operation Paperclip, where they were talking about how Alan Dulles protected the Nazis in Ukraine so they didn't have to go to the Nuremberg trials. And we have been...
Is this the same dude that the
Alan Dulles
airport is named after?
Yeah, Dulles Airport,
Yeah,
but
okay.
it's named something else now, I think.
Okay.
But Alan Dulles was like the first head of the CIA, and he was just this complete creep.
For real?
Yeah. They think that he had it. Some people think that he might have been responsible for shooting Kennedy. That's
Jesus
how much of
Christ.
an asshole this guy is. All right?
Okay.
But I mean, forget that. But my point is, these kids today, they don't know their history. I remember reading books at the library about how the CIA supported, armed, and funded the Nazis that were left over in Ukraine to fight the Cold War. I remember reading that. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is the people are like, oh, that's Putin propaganda. That's Russian propaganda. They've got documents. You can go to the CIA's own website because they've released documents. They have documents they've declassified from the Cold War where you can see with your own eyes from the CIA's website that they were supporting Bandera. Stefan Bandera was the Nazi that that was like everyone looks up to as a hero now in Ukraine. But yeah, those pictures aren't fake. Those videos aren't fake. In 2014, I remember watching about the coup in Ukraine and seeing all these red flags. Those red flags that they flew during the Maidan coup. Those red flags are from the ONB, the UNB, Ukrainian National, OUN, the Organization of Ukrainian Nationals. The OUNB was Organization of Ukrainian Nationals, the Bandera faction. Stefan Bandera was the fucking Nazi that collaborated with the Nazis when they went into Ukraine during Operation Barbarossa. The Nazis, when they invaded Russia, they went through Ukraine. Half of Ukraine collaborated with the Nazis, became Nazis. They had part of the Holocaust in Ukraine. You didn't know this? Okay, yeah. They like over 100,000 Poles, Jews, and Roma people were like we're talking pits where they shot him, and we're talking real genocide.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, NATO, right after the war, NATO started fucking hiring two chairmen of NATO were ex-Nazis. like I mean, I'm not kidding you.
Wow.
You can look that up and look it up on Wikipedia. So, I mean, I guess, how did I get started with this? This wasn't just recent Russian propaganda.
Okay.
This is books that are from publishing companies. There's no way in hell Putin could go back in time and change all those books in the library about World War II and the Nazis and Ukraine and Operation Paperclip. And there's just no way it could be fake fucking propaganda, you know? And so people today, because, you know, we're now funding and arming Ukraine, they're like, oh no, that's just Russian propaganda, you know, because Putin, that was one of his reasons why he went into Ukraine, is to, he called it denazify. But dude, you could look, there's lots of videos and a lot of news stories from Western mainstream, like Time Magazine, New York Times, MSNBC, Vice Magazine. There's articles in 2014 that were talking about this fucking Nazi problem in Ukraine, right? But then after the war started, all of a sudden all that disappeared just because Putin said, yeah, there's a Nazi problem in Ukraine. Oh, he's full, you know, because we've been sitting through that fucking 4 years of Trump Russiagate.
Right. Which was it founded in any
They never
kind of...
found any evidence for that. I told some of my friends at the time, I said, dude, all I can tell you is every time they pound something in your head every day on CNN, it turns out it's a pack of lies. What happened with weapons of mass destruction? They talked about that every day on CNN.
For
what happened?
years.
Yeah. They finally went over there. They didn't have any weapons of mass destruction. Iraq was never a threat. But they talked about it every goddamn day. So, you know, fast forward 10, 20 years, whatever. Here's Trump. They're talking about Russiagate every goddamn year. I mean, every goddamn day.
Why did they start saying in the first place that Putin was meddling with our election?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
The evidence for that was never. And see, when I talk about this, people are like, "Oh, you must be a Trump supporter." No, I'm just like, obviously somebody's lying here, because there's no way in hell that Russia, with when they actually looked at how many posts the Russians, they're putting memes on Facebook, you know, and
most of the Twitter accounts are Russian bots. And...
Yeah. When they really looked into that evidence, they didn't find much of anything, and even the memes that they were supposedly, those memes were the ones that are that were dividing the country, making people vote for Trump. I mean, it just didn't add up to me. Facebook was funded by the CIA. Facebook, I mean, pretty much we run the entire goddamn internet. We make all the CPUs. I mean, they're made in Taiwan. I just watched this other thing today. It was a video about the whole chip. We've got this CPU chip war going on with China. Well, China and Russia they didn't start building their own CPUs until like 2007. I mean, they're just now starting to build their own chips. All of the chips, 90% of them are made in Taiwan. They make them there, but we design.
Okay.
We make all the software. We put in all the backdoors. Pretty much all the goddamn chips in the world are run by the United States. The NSA is going to put a backdoor in every fucking CPU in the country if we're the ones designing them. There's going to be a backdoor in every fucking hard drive.
Not mine.
Yeah, right. No. I'll guarantee you there's a chip in that laptop right there. It was designed by the United States. It probably has a backdoor that the NSA can go into. So you can't tell me that that Putin somehow got away with like hacking our internet by sending memes to people to control the election. That is literally what the NSA's job is. To watch the goddamn internet, to make sure that nothing like that happens. That's literally what the CIA's job is. They go to other countries and flip elections. The CIA knows about elections. I mean, they pretty much funded Facebook. Facebook was funded by by InQtel, which is an intelligence. It's like what do you call it? Now I'm going to sound stupid.
No.
InQtel is like a Wall Street investment firm that funds CIA projects. And so the CIA, when they first saw Facebook, they're like, "Oh, this is perfect." I mean, come on, think about it. Twitter and Facebook are perfect for controlling and manufacturing consent all over the world. If we want to, that's why China and Russia, they don't have, you can't really have Facebook in like
consent
China. China got rid of their Twitter and Facebook. They had got their own Twitter.
These platforms are consent for what?
You could mold people's you could manufacture
thinking.
Consent. You could trend certain topics and suppress other topics. You could help certain candidates that you like, and you could make other candidates look bad by just molding the algorithms of Twitter and Facebook.
To get people to think a certain...
Yeah,
okay.
Because before we had Facebook and Twitter, the CIA used to have to go around handing out pamphlets,
Right.
Remember
free,
Oswald?
Free distribution.
Yeah, remember Oswald? He infiltrated the Fair Play for Cuba committee. He was on the street handing out pamphlets. Come to my meeting. Well, we don't have meetings now. All of that shit is done on Twitter and Facebook. So of course it's going to be a gold mine for the CIA if they want to flip elections in other countries. That's how they started all those color revolutions in the goddamn Middle East. Everyone's like, oh, they want freedom in the Middle East. Yeah, they also have Facebook and Twitter. Because I remember when some of those color revolutions started, like in Iraq, this little story came out. It was like, Twitter's helping the revolution in Egypt. And I was like, what the fuck? Because that just like a little light bulb went off on top of my head. And I'm like, oh, no shit, they are. They could use Twitter and Facebook to mold revolutions. And of course, that story just disappeared from the fucking internet. It was like something I saw like one day, and it was gone the next day. And I was like, that makes sense. And so things like, these so-called civil wars that start in Syria, Ukraine, whatever. How do you think that shit gets started? Not by pamphlets.
Pamphlets and meetings.
Yeah, they're doing it all on Facebook and Twitter.
Well, I have Facebook down as a note to bring up. I mean, you give Zero fucks.
Can't believe it.
You're like the
We
poster.
should erase everything I just said because I can't believe you got me started on this.
Well, hey, man, all I did was ask how your parents met.
I've never been a Trump supporter. Never in my life.
I don't think you're coming
Republican.
across as one.
I'm just an old man who remembers how shit used to be. I hated Reagan. All right, didn't like
trickle
Bush.
down economics didn't make you wealthy.
I voted for Dukakis for fuck's sake.
Right, same.
So,
yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't old enough, but I would have.
But one more point I wanted to make because I got down a rabbit hole and I sound like a conspiracy nut. But just to simplify, what happened is during this 20-year global war on terror, I had a couple relatives, like a nephew that was he was actually JSOC. He went to Afghanistan and Iraq. Like
JSOC?
Yeah, JSOC. It's like a secret military group that does a lot of secret shit in other countries. But he had been over to Iraq and Afghanistan 8 times. Okay, and he's my nephew. I grew up with him. He's a Republican. His dad's a Republican. His mom's a Republican, right? But I remember talking to him, and he was like, I'm tired of this war. I'm tired. I'm not going over there anymore. I've been over there 8 fucking times, and it's not good. I'm not doing it anymore. And so it's kind of makes sense to me that most of the people that fought the war, the global war on terror, were probably Republicans, because Republicans are the ones that always join the army. So when this global war after 9/11, when the war started, all these Republicans signed up, or their dads were in the military, their grandpa was in the military, they're in the military. Most of the people that have been fighting the global war on terror were Republican. Let's face it. I mean, neocons got us into the war anyway, all right? But my point is, the reason why by the time Trump came around, Trump, as a Republican, when he started talking against the wars, when he started saying he's going to bring people home from Syria and Afghanistan and Iraq, he started criticizing the global war on terror. That's when a lot of Republicans said, fuck yeah, I'm tired of this war too.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
Okay.
My brother's been over there 8 times. I've been over there 8 times.
Republicans in regular life.
I'm saying Republicans in regular life finally got tired of fighting this fucking war. I've got a couple friends on Twitter that I know, and I know 2 military guys, both of them. When this thing started in Ukraine, I remember him tweeting, there's no fucking way you're going to get me to go over there. And I know this guy. He's born military. He's been over there 8 times. And he's like, no, I'm not fighting another war. And really, if you look at it, it's the American people would not go for it. If Biden tomorrow said, yeah, we're sending troops to Ukraine, people are like, fuck you. I mean, the most they can do is send them money for, weapons and shit. But as it's really just a proxy war against Russia, so we can weaken Russia, So anyway, I wanted to get that out. Anyway.
So are your folks still around?
Yeah.
Are
my folks are still. I was just over there last night watching the game.
Okay, and so they're still together. Nice. Did they put music on in the home when you were growing up?
Yes.
What were some of the stuff they were into?
Well, I remember the first album I had was Meet the Beatles.
Okay. This is your own record,
I can
not
tie
theirs?
this into the military industrial complex.
Please do whatever you feel like doing.
So, my uncle went to Vietnam, and I remember before he went to Vietnam, he came over to our house, and he was, I think it was one of those things where I got to go to Vietnam, so I'm going to come visit my sister.
We'll have a meal together and send off.
Yeah. I remember him being kind of sad and everything, and he was giving away stuff because he was worried he was going to die probably because he's going to Vietnam. This was 1965 or 67. And he gave me, he was giving away his records. He gave me Meet the Beatles.
Okay.
And so the first album I had was Meet the Beatles. I used to listen to it all the time.
And this is what age for you?
Oh, I was probably 5 or 6
Okay,
years old.
okay.
I was in first or second grade.
Sure.
Because I remember after listening to that album, I remember looking at girls for the first time, like, oh, she's cute. Oh, I wonder what her name is. You know,
I want to hold her hand.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And the very next album I had was my mom. We were at a garage sale, and I was flipping through albums. I was probably a kid, like second or third grade. And I bought Magical Mystery Tour by the Beatles. And so I listened to that every day on my little, I had a little turntable thing.
Like in your room?
In my room.
Nice.
Yeah. My dad had a big stereo. That
Okay,
I could touch,
okay.
but he had Sony speakers, and we had that stereo, all up until I was, 18, years old.
Nice.
We had that stereo, which is when I was growing up, like in high school. That's when I was listening to Pink Floyd. I was listening to Rush. I was listening to Yes. So those are my favorite bands in my teens. Probably was Rush, Pink Floyd, Yes, and so.
And when mom and dad would put on music, what were they?
Oh, I think my dad. Early on, it was Simon and Garfunkel.
Okay.
So I can remember them listening to things like The Boxer
Sure.
and Bridge Over Troubled Waters.
Yes.
But then there was a time when my dad went from that kind of music to, Chuck Berry.
Sure.
I know he's a big fan of Chuck Berry and Simon and Garfunkel. But then all of a sudden, I don't know what it was, but he started listening to country music.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he became a big country music fan, and
Has he stayed in that lane ever since?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
What
about mom?
She's always been a Elvis Presley fan of Elvis Presley.
Okay.
So. And she actually saw Elvis when he came to Kemper Arena.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
He
was still alive. I think
what
he
year
died
was Kemper?
in 77.
Yeah, but so Kemper 74, 72,
72.
something. Okay, okay. A brand new facility, basically, at the time.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Are you okay beverage wise? You need anything?
No, I'm fine.
You're good. Okay. So, do you have a first show? We got your first album.
Oh, my first live show was Kiss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah, I forgot that. Before Rush, before Yes and Pink Floyd, I listened to Kiss.
Okay.
So I think it was, Kiss Alive when that came out. I bought that album, and then I bought Destroyer.
Uh-huh.
And I probably listened to Destroyer like a million times. But then by the time rock and roll came over, they had an album that came out after Destroyer, and it was called Rock and Roll Over. I just hated that album.
Did you really?
Yeah, by that time Rush had come out, and I'd heard 2112, and I was like, what is this?
Right.
And so Rush was never a big fan of Bad Company, never a big fan of Boston.
Sure.
It was always the stuff they never played on the radio. One of the reasons why I never became a big fan of Bad Company, it was because wherever you went, you could hear it. I mean, it was on the radio.
Well, it's also
on the jukebox.
like relatively boring in the scope of classic rock, which is
right. But going back, I mean, I do. The song "Bad Company" by the band Bad Company. I mean, don't. There's something about that song. I mean, you can see why people like it.
Of course,
the lyrics are simple.
There's a few where Rock and Roll Fantasy.
Well, I think the only Bad Company album I had was Runnin' with the Pack.
Okay, yeah,
and that had a song on it called Silver, Blue, and Gold.
Yep.
Give
me silver, blue, and gold.
And so I like that, but I mean, I was buying every Yes album, listening to them. I was buying every Pink Floyd album. Like I would listen to Animals from both sides.
Yep.
I would lay back with my headphones and just like dream. Because that's what we did before the internet or, before DVDs.
Yep.
Most of it was in your imagination where, you close your eyes and just listen to that music. It wasn't punk rock where you dance around.
Are you a Louis fan?
What do you mean, Louis?
CK.
Not, yeah.
Really?
Okay. I'm not a big fan, but
okay. Have you seen his?
I liked one of his specials.
Have you seen the bit where he talks about smoking pot in Kansas City?
Uh-uh.
So he's going through the list of things he can't do anymore because he's too old.
Yeah.
You know, drinking. Like if I want a good time, I gotta like hurt my back and have a few Percocet at a diner.
Yeah.
But so he's like, and I can't get high anymore because the shit they're making today will make you insane. But so the last time I got high was after a show, and I'm smoking in a parking lot with some 20-year-olds. We're passing this joint. And I had no idea that they've been working on the shit like it's got the cure for cancer. And so he's like, I'm taking big hits like 1970s jean jacket, Bad Company. Here come the Jesters.
Yeah,
it's a great bit. It's a great bit. But yeah, I mean, Bad Company.
Yeah.
But so you're getting into. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, given how much you've shared regarding reading, that you were. No fear about taking on Yes.
Oh,
that is a serious.
I mean, I think around that time, well, my dad had a guitar, and so he played the guitar, and he taught me how to play, basic blues. And then I kept playing and playing. I don't know. I got an electric guitar when I was a kid, and I started learning some of those lead solos to some of those songs.
Seriously?
Yeah. Like some of them, I'd learn every note to the actual lead solo.
Wow.
Most of it was Led Zeppelin. I think.
Okay.
Not
Yes.
I didn't listen to Led Zeppelin like I listened to Yes and Pink Floyd, because I couldn't really play that. But with Led Zeppelin, I'd put an album on and I would try to learn it. Like I knew pretty much all the songs off of Led Zeppelin 2. I knew pretty much all the songs on Led Zeppelin 4 because those are my favorites.
Sure.
And then by the time what came after Led Zeppelin 4, I think it was
House of the
Holy. It was like, no, I can't play this. And by that time, I mean, it was I was in a band. And
for real?
Yeah. So I mean, I was pretty musically inclined.
Nice.
Not only was I listening to music, but I was playing it.
So where'd you see Kiss, and who'd you see him with?
Oh, I saw Kiss at Kemper Arena.
Okay.
And
you and Mom both had first shows there.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. But then after, I think I saw Rush and I saw Foreigner. But I'm not a big concert goer.
Okay.
I mean, the only concerts I go to nowadays is like Elvis Costello or maybe the Jayhawks.
Sure. Do they still tour?
Yeah, they're still out there. But I mean, I had a big shift in music around the time the Police came out, Devo, and B-52s, Sex Pistols. I just sold my guitar and I bought a stereo, a high fidelity stereo.
It's funny that you say that. I was gonna propose that very assumption, and so Dad has this kind of classic rock, shift to country, and you are kind of in the classic rock lane, and you kind of shift to like post punk stuff because when I asked you for records, you gave me 3, and it's like late 70s to early 80s, and they're all British punk or post punk.
Oh well, yeah, it was. I think it was what really got me was I think the Police, the second album by the Police. I think it was Regatta de Blanc.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And the Devo, I had Freedom of Choice, and then the New Traditionalist, the Devo's album that came after Freedom of Choice. New Traditionalist, I really liked. Like I liked A Beautiful World and Going Under. And
how many records would you say Devo put out?
I don't know, but I mean, I did see Devo live. I remember seeing Devo live because I mean, I liked New Traditionalists so much. I wasn't into the early Devo. I probably bought their albums, but I was like, yeah, it's okay. But there's something about so I became a big Police fan, which led me to I guess after the Police, I started listening to XTC, and well, of course, then there's the Clash.
Yep.
I don't know, when I was probably 23.
So what age are you for this band that you were in?
Oh, that was when I was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade.
Okay.
So after I got out of high school, I went to college for like 6 weeks. And
where'd you go to high school?
Olathe North.
Okay. And then college was...
Yeah, so after I got out of high school is when I started listening to new age,
Oh,
new
okay.
wave and punk.
Where'd you go to school?
Olathe North.
No, for college.
Oh, Emporia.
Okay,
But I didn't go for very long.
sure.
But
Teacher school, right? That's kind of one of
I
the
don't know.
flags that
It
they
was
wave.
just my sister went there, and so I went for like a semester.
Okay.
But I didn't really like it.
So, 1979, The Clash, London Calling.
Well, I didn't get a hold of London Calling until probably like 82.
Okay.
You know,
How did you get a hold of it?
80. Well, my friend Clark Draper, I moved in with my friend Clark Draper, and we started going to Pogo's at a Tuesday night that was punk rock night.
Pogo's. I haven't heard that name in forever.
And so Pogo's, you could drink beer when you're 18, and I went to the New Wave night because I liked the music. And so that's probably where I got turned on by The Clash and by, all this, like Echo and the Bunnymen.
Sure.
XTC, The Clash, Elvis Costello. I remember I was a big fan of, and I can remember to this day, each time I listened to an Elvis Costello album, the first time I heard Elvis Costello was probably in high school. It was probably around 1977 when his first album, My Aim Is True, came out, because me and Clark were both kids. We're both high school kids. But Clark had an older sister that was out of high school. She was in college, and she had an older boyfriend who was real hip. And we were over at her house once, and he's like, man, you got to check this out. And he put on Elvis Costello's My Aim Is True. And I remember me and Clark listening to it and going, this is weird. Like, we didn't get it. Like, we didn't know why it was cool or anything, because we were listening to Rush at the time. And then years later, it was probably 1982, I think. I was living in an apartment with another friend of mine, Dan Bell, and he had a copy of Imperial Bedroom, and I got a hold of that, and I started playing it a lot, and I liked that, but I never really, like, Elvis never really grabbed me until the day I'll never forget. I was living with Clark Draper. And he had a friend of his staying over. Was a little punk rock girl, and she had a copy of Trust on.
Okay.
In the other room, and I think I walked out of the room and I heard White Knuckles off of the album Trust, and I was like, man, what is this song? This is like fucking awesome, And ever since then, of course, I bought Trust and I listened to that, and I was like, I loved that album. And after that, I just bought every Elvis Costello album, like My Aim Is True, This Year's Model, Get Happy, Trust, Imperial Bedroom. And that was around the time, I think I remember when Punch the Clock came out. And I didn't really care for Punch the Clock as much as Imperial Bedroom.
Well, I had a cat do an episode 13. He gave me a big list
of Elvis Costello albums,
of just albums. But almost all of them are sort of in that same British post-punk new.
Here's an interesting.
But one of them was This Year's Model.
Oh,
and I'd never sat down. Like, I've heard some Elvis Costello, but I never sat down until getting ready for that episode. I was like, wow, this is good stuff. When I put on Imperial Bedroom, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I saw a little bit that said they're like, we're going to address each track as kind of its own, like it's going to get its own energy and its own sort of identity. I mean, they're obviously all going to be part of the record, but I mean, it's a really big, bold, beautiful sound. And
Imperial Bedroom,
harpsichord and horns and strings, and I mean the piano is really bold and speaks to you.
I mean, it was like an instant classic. I mean, the interesting thing about the difference between Imperial Bedroom and Trust and Punch the Clock, there was a time when when I was in that band, I only played lead guitar.
Okay.
I didn't really sing and play at the same time.
Sure. That's hard to do.
So years later, when I got into comedy, I had an acoustic guitar and I started playing that again. And one day I was just singing in the bathtub, And I was like, hey, I bet you I could learn that song. And so I taught myself how to sing and play at the same time.
Oh shit.
So
Wow.
I started off by learning Bruce Springsteen songs and, of course, Elvis Costello songs because I'd listened to Elvis so much. But so what happened was I ended up teaching myself almost every song off of Trust. I could sing and play all the chords, all the lyrics. And then I started learning all the songs off of Imperial Bedroom. And because they're not that hard to learn, you can figure out all the chords and the lyrics, but for some reason I started trying to learn the songs off of Punch the Clock, and those songs are hard as fuck
For real.
because of the chord changes in Punch the Clock are just way
Is
beyond.
that like 88ish? Did
No,
he have a
Punch the
single?
Clock came out like 83.
Oh, okay.
Or
My bad.
84. But people don't realize when they listen to Punch the Clock, they just think that it's kind of a poppy album. They think that Imperial Bedroom is more classical and more,
Masterpiece.
a masterpiece. But actually, the songs on Imperial Bedroom are easier to play.
Interesting.
They have less complex chord changes. Punch the Clock has really strange chord changes and really strange tempo beats, like 4/5, it's some weird rhythm. I don't know what the word I'm trying to think.
Are you still a fan? I mean, he's this.
Oh yeah,
this
but
is-
I mean, Punch the Clock is not my favorite album.
No.
My favorite album of Elvis is probably Trust or Imperial Bedroom.
Right, but I mean, are you like all the way through his
Oh,
discography?
I probably bought every one of Elvis
I mean,
Costello's
this is
CDs.
record 7 of 26.
Oh, he's got like,
including one
dude,
from last year.
See that Brenda, my therapist girlfriend, says that I've got a little bit of autism, where I'm on the spectrum. They don't use the word Asperger's anymore, but I collect before the internet, before computers came out. I used to collect every Elvis Costello 45. I almost had all of them except for like 3.
Seriously?
I was collecting Elvis Costello 45s from other countries. Like this is a Elvis 45 of
You're like a super fan.
a collector of Elvis, like rare EPs, rare albums, rare 45s. I had a whole box of Elvis Costello 45.
Do you have
picture discs and
45s by other artists too?
No,
Okay.
the only ones I collected was Clash and Elvis Costello.
Okay.
But Elvis Costello was the funnest to collect because he had so many different picture discs and so many different 45 7-inch singles that before CDs came out. That's if you're a real collector, that's what you collected. Then when the internet came out, I started collecting Elvis Costello MP3s. So I've got a huge collection of Elvis Costello MP3s of every Elvis Costello album he's ever produced.
Okay.
I've got almost every bootleg he's ever produced. I've got songs. It's gotten to the point where I started collecting Elvis Costello covers that other bands covered of Elvis Costello, right? Like say somebody like Linda Ronstadt has 3 Elvis Costello songs that she covered
Really?
on one of her albums. I've got those, yeah.
So is this collection why Brenda is assigning Spectrum to you?
Yeah, she
Okay.
says that people that are on the spectrum of autism are sometimes become collectors, where they have to organize their. It's not OCD, but I mean, I've got all of my Elvis Costello MP3s and FLAC files.
Okay.
I'm into that now too.
Okay.
So I've got them all backed up on 3 different
Sure.
hard drives
In case something happens.
Oh yeah, I used to be a member of the Elvis Costello Facebook group. It was Elvis Costello Collectors, and I was a member of that Facebook group. And one time I made a post. I said, "Hey you guys, I made this this playlist. I mean, it's a zip file of Elvis Costello MP3s. I had them, all the on an MP3, you got to make sure the tags are correct, so it shows up right on your iPhone or your Android.
Sure.
The name of the song, the name of the musician, and the name of the album all has to be the same.
Okay.
But there are programs where you can change that. So I just basically I made a giant file folder of a bunch of Elvis Costello covers of other people covering Elvis Costello, and fixed all the tags so it would show up, as the same album on your iPhone or Android. And they just went crazy for it. I mean, I still to this day, when people see that post, they'll send me a PM going, "Hey, you still got a link to that?" I can't.
So it didn't. It didn't get you in trouble. Are you?
No.
Are you still part of that group?
No, I think the group, the website,
dissolved?
or something. But I mean, but it was a good 200 or 300 songs.
Oh wow!
I know it was more than 150. It was a good 200.
That must have taken a minute to put together.
Oh yeah, because I mean, I just got tired of collecting Elvis Costello stuff. So I mean, Elvis Costello albums and all that. But it was a challenge to see if I could find every single artist that ever covered an Elvis Costello song.
Sure.
And since I love covers, I just love it when somebody else plays an Elvis Costello song, because I'm like, oh, I like the way he did it that way,
Do you know lots of Elvis Costello fans in non-internet real life?
I only have like one. I have one friend that's Elvis Costello fan, Rob Leiter, but he's not as big as a Elvis fan as I am. I mean, he's into Grateful Dead and Fish, but he's a big Elvis fan, but not as big as me.
Okay.
I mean, I rarely do I meet an Elvis Costello fan.
I think they are rare.
Yeah, that has gone to has got as many MP3s. Every time he comes out with an album, of course, I'm gonna get it. And
yeah.
And
since you brought up collecting, you mentioned that you collect vintage speakers.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. I think one of the things that really gets you into music is if you got a good stereo.
Sure.
And if you love music, or you say you love music, don't tell me you love music until you spend some money on speakers. Are the most important part, because it's easy to get something that plays the signal, just any basic receiver you find on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist.
Sure.
You don't have to spend a lot of money on a really expensive amplifier, but just your basic amplifier and a computer that can play FLAC files, lossless. I mean,
I recognize those terms, but I don't know what they mean.
Well, I don't collect CDs anymore.
Right.
I went from albums right when CDs came out. I started collecting CDs, and then after the internet, after MP3s came out, I got rid of all my CDs.
Sure.
I went straight to MP3.
So you're not a hoarder. So
no.
Brenda should take it easy a little bit with this.
Yeah, I mean, all my stuff is on hard drives.
Sure.
But if you I'm telling you, get some good speakers. If you got some good speakers, you connect it to a halfway decent receiver. You can get a nice receiver for like $50 on Craigslist.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Then you'll be able to appreciate music more because you can hear more from the goddamn, what the artist wanted you
the
to.
sonic spectrum.
Yeah. And so I collect vintage speakers. I collect all the speakers I wanted when I was in my 20s that I have the money now to afford. So, but I'll find stuff on Facebook Marketplace like B&W, Boston Acoustics. I got a pair of Infinities. I mean, old Infinities, not the new ones. I mean, when Infinity first came out, they had a certain type of tweeter and certain type of woofer. That's the good woofer. So I've got two. What do I have? I have 4 Dolly speakers that are made in Denmark. I got those for $40 on Facebook Marketplace. They're like $200 or $300 speakers. I got a set of Pinnacle. I got a set of Kef.
These are not all in use though right now, are they?
No, they are. Because,
they are?
Yeah, I mean, what I did was
in various rooms in your home.
So, when you most amplifiers or receivers, they'll let you plug in. They'll let you connect 2 sets of speakers, or usually maybe a surround sound if it's audio visual. But I mean, you can get just an audio receiver. It'll let you have an A and a B. Yep. But when you start putting 2 or 3 or 4, you can't put a lot of speakers on a receiver, because the receiver won't push them if it doesn't have enough watts, right? So I had all these speakers. I bought another receiver. I had 2 receivers connected to 4 sets of speakers, and I was able to connect them all to my computer, right? And so I can adjust the volume on both receivers, depending on which speakers I want to listen to, and I play them all at the same time if I want. But I was sitting around the house, I'm like, I've got more speakers, fuck. And I saw somebody had a Nakamichi. They were selling for $50. It was a 100-watt Nakamichi, which I wanted one. I used to have one, and I wanted another one. So I'm like, I gotta get this. So I bought this $50 Nakamichi. And it plugged in another 2 sets of speakers. So right now I've got a set of Boston Acoustics, vintage. It was the old school, the good tweeter. I can't remember. It was like an A70, and a set of Polk Audio monitor. These are monitor 10s, where they got the subwoofer with the 2 woofers and the old school Polk tweeter. I've got a set of Kef plugged in with a set of Mission. These are 602i. They're really cool. I found them like $50. And on the sides, I've got another set of Boston Acoustics and another set of Dolly speakers.
These are not all in the same room, though.
All in the same room. All 3. I've got. I'll show you a picture of it. I've got 3 receivers setting on top of each other. So there are 3 receivers, all of them plugged into the computer, and 8 pairs of speakers. I can crank it all.
You have your own wall of sound.
Oh yeah. And so it's basically 300 watts I've got, because I've got 3 receivers.
Is this like in your living room? Or?
No, they're all in my room. But
okay.
I mean, I can crank it. Like sometimes it's fun to listen to Judas Priest really loud, or the Rolling Stones.
Right.
If I crank all of them, you're not really pushing each receiver. I mean, each speaker is putting out some hefty volume, but not too much because it's not distorted. If you crank a receiver up too loud, it'll sound like crap.
Sure.
So all of these are playing at pretty low volume, but all together, it sounds fucking amazing.
Anybody ever gripe?
I've never had a neighbor gripe.
Okay.
But I mean, I've walked outside my house before. I've cranked it up like really loud on Rage Against the Machine, and yeah, you can hear it outside on the sidewalk. Fuck
I'm
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Man.
So I mean, I take music seriously, because I mean, I collect vintage speakers. I've got probably a terabyte of MP3s and FLAC files on my hard drive. I mean, I probably got thousands of MP3s. I could count them, but I mean,
right.
I know it's probably a terabyte.
So where, as we were talking about a little bit ago, you've come over to give help with computers. And how did you gather the knowledge and the know-how to do that? And hook up
I lived in Seattle, and I was living in Seattle in the 90s, and I moved out there to do stand-up comedy. I had no idea what grunge music was. I had no idea what Microsoft was, but I met a guy who worked for Microsoft. It was just a friend, and I was arguing with him one day. But, it was like, only rich people can afford computers. And he's like, dude, That's such bullshit. I will give you a computer.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, what are you talking about? So he just gave me a laptop. He goes, it's rich people, anybody can own a computer, dude. And I'm like, really? So I got my first computer in 1995 and I started playing around with it. And whenever I couldn't do anything or whenever something screwed up on the computer, it would piss me off. Like, I would like, how come I can't do this? And so I would teach myself how. So I basically am self-taught.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow. But how?
Well, like, Napster came out around that time.
Sure.
I was downloading MP3s. If you want to watch porn, you got to know how to, like, this is so funny. Parents should let their kids look at porn on the computer because that's the only thing that's going to teach your kid how to fix his own goddamn computer. Because what do you do when you look up porn? You could get a virus.
Yeah.
If you get a virus, you're going to have to learn how to fix your computer. You're going to have to learn how to wipe a hard drive and reinstall Windows, an operating system. You got to learn that.
Yeah.
You got to learn that not every media player plays every video. You start downloading videos. How come I can't play this video? I can't see these boobs.
Right.
Well, it's an AVI. This media player doesn't play AVI. So then I had to learn what all these different video files are. I had to learn all these different, FLAC, MP3. There's A4B. I mean, there's all kinds of different music files. And if you want to convert one, you got to learn how to convert things. So basically, I've never paid for software ever in my life. Actually, I think I bought Windows 10 one time, but I bought it from somebody that used to work at Microsoft. I got Windows 10 for like $35. But I crack all my programs. I download all my programs from BitTorrent. I fix everybody's computer. I don't.
You
think,
still do. You still do that stuff.
I don't think Bill Gates or most of these software companies really care about guys like us because we're the ones that you call when I keep everybody's computer running. I give people, my dad, of course, he bought his copy of Office because he wanted it to work correctly. You know what I mean? But I've got. Like 15 people that gave a copy of Office to because I found out once you pay for Office, you can run it on 5 different devices.
Okay.
And each one of those devices can have 5 friends. I mean, I found all this stuff out just by.
I remember one time you were like, "Hey, do you still have you did something with Office, and it was like you get 3."
Yeah, you can give it to 3 different people.
Whatever it was.
A lot of people don't realize you can do that. Like when they install Office, they just think that it comes just with that computer. But no, Office lets you put Office 365 on 5 devices. And you could also go into your Office account and you can give it to 5 friends, I keep a lot of people, all my friends and family, I keep all their computers running.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And so they all love Windows.
I didn't think that because when we talked on the phone, I thought you said, I hope he doesn't want me to fix his computer.
Yeah, that's what I thought because last time we got together, I think, there was something that had to do with the computer.
But I took that to mean that you don't do that anymore.
No, I do,
okay.
but I know how to do it, but I'm trying not to tell other people I fix their computer
Oh.
because everybody calls me to fix their computer.
I see.
So I've got a closet full of laptops that people gave me that I couldn't fix or weren't worth fixing.
Sure.
I've got like down in the basement, I've got tons of parts. I could probably put together a computer just with the parts. I mean, I've got a bookshelf with like 5 motherboards sitting on top of the bookshelf, so.
It sounds like if you ever have to move, it'll be a bitch. Like you have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, because Brenda doesn't throw anything away.
Okay.
But I mean, the only thing I have is just, that's worth anything is just my computer. I build my own computers.
Your speakers.
And my speakers, but I keep everyone else's computer running, so I don't think Microsoft is going to be pissed at me because I've turned more people on to Microsoft than, because nobody likes a computer that runs like shit. It doesn't run.
No.
And they're like, how come I can't do this? Fuck Microsoft. And I'll have to go over there and show them how to do it or fix it.
Right.
And they're like, oh, this is cool. So,
yeah.
I mean, So, I mean, I've never told anybody to buy Mac because I can't.
Are you anti?
Well, because I've seen what they do with iTunes. I don't like what they do with iTunes.
Meaning?
Well, I mean, when music first came out, I mean, when they first started, Napster first came out.
Yeah.
That's when people started sharing music.
Yep.
It's called sharing music. It's not stealing, but the record companies, they're like, oh, we can't have people doing this because they're getting music for free. But a lot of people don't realize, if you talk to any artist, they go, dude, the record companies rip us off.
Yeah.
We're famous.
I saw a thing that said 14%.
Some of them don't even make that.
Right.
And now, so then they tried to, come out with Spotify was supposed to fix the downloading problem. And anybody that's an artist that's on Spotify will tell you they get a percentage of a penny every time someone listens to it. They have to listen to it hundreds of thousands of times before they get a check for $35.
Right.
So when I hear people that tell me, they're like, oh, I can't believe you download music illegally or you download movies. I'm like, dude, I've got a book on Amazon. I've got a movie on Amazon. I've got 2 CDs. I can tell you how much I make. It's chump change. I don't make any money from those. Those things are out there because I just want to be famous. I want people to see my work.
Yeah.
I don't make money off my albums or my movie or my books.
So
Because
how
Amazon rips you the fuck off.
Sure, how is this notion of streaming? How is
Streaming
that? How is
was
that?
supposed to, the artists are supposed to get money. I do have a certain amount of money that I get from people that stream my album. If they buy my album, they're gonna get more. I'm gonna get more money.
Yeah, but how is this problem rooted with Apple?
I'll tell you, because when I first, first of all, Apple, they do everything. They want you to buy the music, right? You have to go to their iTunes. I mean, you can't even look at a picture without installing iTunes. Okay, so if you have Windows and say your girlfriend has an iPhone, all right? If she wants to do anything with her pictures, her music, or her movies, you can't just plug in an iPhone to your computer and look at a folder or dump a song in a folder. No, you're not going to see those pictures, that music, or those movies unless you install iTunes on your Windows computer. So you install iTunes. Oh, now they'll let you look at your pictures, your music, and your media, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, but every time I've had to work on a computer and the person had an iPhone or iTunes, it was always some kind of bullshit. With an Android, I can plug this into my computer, my Windows computer. I can see my folder that says music, and I can just drop however much music I want in there, and it'll show up on my phone.
Okay.
I don't have to install some special Android music player just to see my music. Right. I mean, sometimes, and it's always hidden somewhere. It's always some bullshit.
So do you have a preferred streaming platform?
No, dude. I listen to all my music on FLAC off of my hard drive. I rarely, if ever, listen to Spotify unless it's some link that somebody gives me and hey, check out this song. I listen to Spotify a little bit for it, and I made a few playlists, but most of the music I listen to, I guess I'm back from the Napster days where you downloaded music, you put it on your hard drive, and you own the music.
Sure.
I don't listen to Spotify. I know personally, I know how much I make from Spotify, and it is chump change.
Sure.
When someone listens to my CDs on Spotify, I get virtually nothing for it.
What about if you want to listen to music in the car? What do you?
Oh, I plug my plug my cell phone into the stereo in my car, and I listen to MP3s off of my hard drive because I have a little media player on my phone.
So like with an auxiliary cord you plug in?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I just plug it into, and so I have all my songs that I listen to from my phone are from my hard drive. Now, if I was to listen to Spotify, I mean, you have to download it from the fucking internet. You're downloading, and some people are using Bluetooth in their car, and they're wondering, oh, my battery doesn't is I'm get all the my battery doesn't last long because you're using Bluetooth at the same time you're downloading that song off Spotify from some satellite up in the, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I play my music from the hard drive that is on my mobile phone, directly plug it into the goddamn fucking stereo. It sounds better anyway.
Sure.
I mean, Spotify, half the time they're playing goddamn commercials and shit, you know?
Yeah.
It's just
So you have Imperial Bedroom, 1982 was really not a bad song, just fantastic. And then you got yourself a copy of The Clash after that.
it was when I was in
Or
my
London
20s. I was
Calling.
listening to Clash. I mean, I don't really know what album I got first, but it was a moment when I went from listening to classic rock to punk rock.
Sure.
And I never turned back. I kind of like Judas Priest because I did see them live, but it was after I heard Devo and the Police, I became a punk rocker.
Sure.
And the Clash, London Calling, the Clash's first album, Sandinista, and of course there was Combat Rock. But it was just like I've listened to those albums like a million times.
Sure. 6 total. This is number 3 for them. You're familiar with all 6 and dig all 6?
Yeah, all of the Clash. I mean, I collect. I've got every goddamn Clash album possible. I mean, that's another thing and they're all in FLAC files.
Nice.
So it's like I've got. I mean, if you were to go on my I listen to all my music from Windows Groove Media Player, but I've got every single goddamn Clash album.
Nice.
I don't like listening to bootlegs because usually the sound quality isn't all that good.
No, right.
So, I mean, you know, bootlegs aren't all that fun. And if you got a really good stereo, you can hear the difference. And
Sure.
you're like, no, I'm not listening to this.
So you mentioned XTC and Mummer from '83 was
right.
the record of theirs.
Yeah.
Tell me about these guys because I knew virtually nothing.
Oh, yeah. See, I got into XTC. I think I first heard, they were playing Runaway or Senses Working Overtime. You'd hear occasionally off the radio.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a copy of English Settlement, and I love the whole album, like every song off the album.
Nice.
It's really good. And then I think I bought Black Sea, which is going backwards. Black Sea came out before English Settlement, and I loved Black Sea.
Nice.
You know, and so then, you know, I probably wasn't a big fan of white music, or they had to go to their early stuff. The whole album wasn't good, but it'd have occasional like Life Begins at the Hop, you know, stuff like that. Their early stuff. It's not they didn't do concept albums, but man, when Mummer came out, it was like a step above and beyond English Settlement. And if you play music or you know anything about music, I mean, you can hear that it's weird chord changes, weird, syncopation, weird time signatures, and just the lyrics. Like they have a song about slavery. Like on Mummer, there's a song. I think it's I'm gonna screw this up, but it's called Human Alchemy.
Yeah, yeah.
And unfortunately, the lead singer didn't play too many live shows because he had stage fright, really bad stage fright.
And it caused friction with the label, and then I guess his significant other thought he should be not taking Valium anymore.
Right. Well, he took Valium for a long time.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, when he stopped taking the Valium, that's when the albums weren't quite as good. I mean, it was like all those albums when he's taking Valium are like fucking great. Right. I mean, some people, their favorite album is the one that came after Mummer, which was the one that it's got Oh God on it.
Yeah.
I forget the name of that. It's got a song about the things we did on grass, you know, and but what came after Mummer was the Big Express was an album that had a lot of anti-war songs. See, on English Settlement, they had a song called "Melt the Guns," which is about like melt down all the guns in the world. So they're big anti-war. They have a lot of anti-war songs. Off of the Big Express was not quite as good as Mummer, but English set. If you want to get turned on by XTC, I would suggest getting Black Sea, English Settlement, or Mummer. Those three are the best.
Okay,
you know, and then of course after that, I think the Big Express is okay. And they had another one, which is a double album, which was, what was that?
25 o'clock.
Oh, well, that's another thing. I love those albums too. They had this side project where they, they had a, they started playing, they started writing songs, influenced by the 60s. Like they wrote a bunch of funny 60s songs.
Interesting.
And they came out with this 25 o'clock, which is either the name of the band or the name of the album. I'm not sure. Are you on the Wikipedia page?
Yeah, it's the name of the
album.
And
so there's
but it says 1985, the Dukes of Stratosphere.
Yeah, that's it. Yes. They came out with this thing called the Dukes of Stratosphere, which is they kind of copied a lot of 60s influence. And, so it's like listening to a 60s album.
Wow.
Yeah, all three of those albums are like Sonic Sunspot, Chocolate Chips, and all that stuff. They were big inspired by the Beatles, but...
oh, wow, okay.
I mean, I loved the 25 o'clock and the I loved all that stuff, but not as much as Mummer.
Sure.
You know.
I got a few more for you, but I need to pee real quick.
Oh, me too. I need to go to the bathroom or something.
All right, man. So I brought up Jesselnick and Louis C.K. and you kind of poo-pooed both.
Yeah.
Who are you into?
Oh, for stand-up comedy,
yeah.
Everyone's gonna. I mean, I enjoy all kinds of comedy. Like, what I don't like is a comedian that they hate this comic or they hate that comic. I can enjoy Jesselnick if I watch him. I can enjoy Louis C.K. if I watch him. I admire every comic that goes up on stage and tells a joke to try to make an audience laugh.
Yeah.
I see them as being, one of my comrades or brothers
sure.
in this little group of comedians.
Yeah.
So I don't like to really trash like
like
a lot of comics hate Dane Cook. but I
or used to. I don't know if they do anymore.
But I mean,
he got like totally screwed by his brother and
well, if you do stand-up comedy, you know how dark and fucked up most comics are. I mean, they all have some kind of problem or some kind of bones in the bottom of their basement, regardless of who it is. I mean, it's not just Louis C.K. When people are like, Louis C.K. jacked off, dude, it's not just Bill Cosby, dude.
Right.
I mean, when you're on the road working with comics.
Did you see that he's like maybe going to tour again?
Yeah, fuck him. I'm actually, I never, I mean, I listen to Bill Cosby. I mean, I can laugh at what he says, but I mean, I never was a big fan of Bill Cosby. I mean, what really made me laugh was like Stephen Wright and the
well, Segura says if it's a clean comic, it's usually an indicator that there might be something
right. It's
weird about.
It's so true. It's so true. I've worked with a few clean comics on the road where they're adamant it's got to be clean comedy, and something came up during that week where it was like, man, this guy is fucked up in the head. Like, seriously, he's got real problems.
Wow.
I'll give you an example. Like, there's a comic I worked with on the road, Christopher Titus.
Oh,
Yeah, and so he's somewhat famous.
Yeah.
People think he's edgy or what. Anyway, he was like, oh, I worked with him. I went up before him, and he saw my show. He came up after me right after the show, and he's like giving me this long lecture on how I've got to do clean comedy. He's like, I can't believe that. He's like, you're not going to work the improvs, or you're not going to work the funny bones if you don't work clean. I'm like, dude, I've already worked the funny bones. What are you talking about? He's like, I don't work the improv because I don't like the improv. You know, the improv was the place where all the rich people went to laugh. You know, you go to an improv, you look at the goddamn parking lot, it's filled with BMWs and Mercedes Benz.
Is there an improv?
Yeah, there's an
North?
improv here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I've never been a big fan of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
improv. I love the funny bones because
Where does he get off saying this?
well, I'll tell you the story. I don't want to get distracted, but he went off on me and was lecturing me about doing clean comedy. So I listened to him, you know, I said, all right, so he wants me to clean it up before his,
You're like,
you know,
I
I
hope
told
that-
him, I said, dude, you had no problem following me because most of the complaints when you have a headliner, I was featuring,
yeah.
he was headlining.
Okay.
Most of the time they complain that they can't follow the dirty act. Because if you're up there and you're real dirty, then the headliner goes up and he eats it on stage.
Sure.
And you can't get any laughs because
Sure.
you already went up there and you did all your dirty stuff. But I said to Titus, I said, dude, you have no problem following me. You went up after me and you got laughs, you know, and so the next night, I saw him in the back of the room and he had a little notepad out and he was taking down notes of my act. You know, he's like, I watched your act and I found all the places where you said a dirty word and we got to talk about it. And I'm like, dude, you know, fuck off. Basically, I told him, I said, I'm just going to do my show and you do your show and you shut the fuck up and leave me alone.
Could he
Follow me?
No, but
What?
could he do something about it?
Well, he did. He said, oh
shit.
dude, the guy is a towering douchebag. So, it was one of those things where I was nice to him up until a certain point where this is the extent of what I did when I finally got a little bit pissed. Like when you listen to somebody tearing you down and just like, he was just kind of like berating me for hours. And I was being nice because he's the headliner.
Yeah.
I don't want to, you know, piss him off
Right.
or anything. And finally, I think it was something like when I finally got tired of it. I go, dude, you're being a dick. That's what I said. That was it. I go, dude, you're being a dick. And he fucking snapped. He ran
in front of other people?
Well, we were in the comedy condo, which is all the comics stay in the comedy condo. And I didn't snap on him. I didn't call him a cunt or I'm going to go to your mother's grave and piss on her grave. No, this is all I said to Christopher Titus. I said, dude, you're being a dick. He's like, you call me a dick? And he ran at me from down the hallway, grabbed me, pushed me up against the door, had his hand on my throat. You call me a dick? You call me a dick? You talk to me like that? You want to fight? You want to fight? Like he physically wanted to fight, right? And I hadn't been in a fight since like grade school. Like I don't fight. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, comics don't fight. We fight with words, you know, but those are fighting words. You know, he was ready to literally fight me, right?
He assaulted you.
Well, he almost punched me, but he didn't.
But I mean,
he had me pushed up against the door with his hand on my throat.
Assault or battery or something.
Dude, I don't call the cops.
I understand.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But he will do that to a person
by merely saying, dude.
But make sure you tell clean jokes on stage.
Oh, right.
You're like some beacon of morality.
Right. That's where I lost all respect for him. But I mean, this was me just telling him, dude, you're kind of being a dick. And that's what made him snap.
What made it end?
Well, so I think he went back to his room and I went back to my room. And the next day, on
This
stage.
was after a show that this happened?
Yeah, after
Okay.
a show. But then Friday night came up, and I went on stage, and I just did my act. Like, I did all the jokes that I was there to do,
Yeah.
which I was hired to do.
Yeah.
You know, because when I first showed up, he told me he wanted me to do a clean set. So I did a clean set, but I think I said fuck or shit once or twice, and that's when he like freaked out. And the second night wasn't clean enough for him either, because I said the word turd or something, or I said the word piss, and so after he tried to punch me, I'm like, fuck this guy. I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna do my act. Which is what I'm not going to make it any more dirty than I usually do.
Right.
I'm not going to make it. I'm
not
not going to
clean it
I'm
up
not going
either.
to clean it up for him. I just did my act.
He couldn't have gone to the club as the headliner and been like, I don't want this guy.
Oh yeah, he could do that, but he hadn't done that yet.
Okay.
He was just talking to me about
So
it.
you go up night 3
So Friday night, I go up and do my act. He fucking snaps.
in front of people?
Oh yeah, but he was in front of people, so he couldn't really beat me up because I was in the room at the time. You know, I was on stage doing my act, and my act is a little dirty, but it's not too dirty.
Right.
It gets laughs. I mean,
Right.
if my act was too dirty, the audience wouldn't laugh.
No.
But I'm up there getting laughs, being dirty, and he's pacing back and forth, just fuming, right? And so, you know, he doesn't even look at me or talk to me. He goes on stage, does his act. Of course, he gets laughs too. And then after the show, this is where, after the show, he's like in with it with the MC. He's telling the MC, I can get you work. You know, Inman's a dick. He's crazy. He does dirty material. He's not going to help your career at all. And they jump in the car and they're supposed to give me a ride back to the condo because we're at the comedy club. We're all driving in the same car, and so they both don't say a word to me. They both get in the car, and I'm walking towards the car to get in the back seat, and that little fucking Christopher Titus, he's such a fucking cunt prick fucking douche. He goes over and locks the door.
Oh, wow.
And he just looks forward like he's not looking at me. Like, I don't know. We're not going to give you a ride back to the condo. And I was standing there, and he's in the passenger side, right? And I'm like, oh, really? I unzip my pants. I pull my cock out. I put it right on the fucking window, right next to his face. And he gets out of the car. He explodes, man. And he's like right in my face. He's ready to fight. He's like, come on, just punch me. Just hit me one time. I'll fucking kill you, motherfucker. Like, he's good. It's like a fight is going to start,
Mentally
right?
deranged.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and the
That's
only
so
this is
I gotta get
okay.
hilarious.
No, it's not done yet. It's not done. So he's in my face, and I told him, I said, Christopher, you work Stanford and Sons, don't you? He's like, yeah. Do you know who owns Stanford and Sons? Craig Glazier. He's in the mafia. You put one finger on me, I'll make one phone call. He will kill you.
Wow.
He will put a bullet in your head. And fucking it, whatever that was, scared him enough, and he backed the fuck off because he knew Craig Glazier. I'm like, he's in the mafia.
Did he give you a ride after that?
No, but I mean, so
Wait,
then
did you go back to the condo and stay there?
well, yeah, because that's where I'm staying,
Yeah.
right? So he goes to the club owner and he tells the club owner,
Okay.
I can't stay in the condo with Inman because he's crazy. He threatened to kill me. I'm like, dude, you threatened to punch me twice. The only way I could have got out of that fight was by threatening his life. That's what I did to get out of that fight.
Sure.
I was like, you fucking, if you lay one finger on me, I will have you killed, which I'm making that up. Like, Craig Glazer's not in the mafia and he's not going to kill anybody for me.
Wow.
But it was enough to get him to back the fuck off. You know,
I mean,
when,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, but because I'm a comic, you
can't
know,
believe you took your cock out.
I can threaten anybody. I'm scary with my words.
Sure.
But I'm not going to fight anyone because I don't like to fight, right? You know? Anyway, so he goes to the club owner and he says some shit like, Inman's this and that. He's doing a dirty show and I can't stay with him in the condo. And so the club owner, he calls me into the office. He goes, so I got to put Christopher Titus in a hotel room because of you, and I'm going to take it out of your check. You're going to pay half. You're going to pay
Is he
half.
talking like a dick like that?
Oh, the fucking club owner did not take he didn't listen to my side of the story at all.
Okay.
Right. And plus, I don't narc on people. So I didn't, I don't really think I made a big, I didn't want to get Christopher Titus in trouble. So I might have said, dude, he threatened to punch me twice.
Right.
And that was not, whatever,
So did he really charge you half the hotel?
Yes, he charged. I had to pay for half of Christopher Titus's hotel room because Christopher Titus is a fucking unhinged freak and he tried to punch me twice.
Wow.
And the only way I got out of the fight was I threatened his life. So anyway, here's the funny part. So I go back on the road and Christopher Titus's name comes up every now and then. And I mentioned, he tried to punch me. I had 6 comics tell me on the road, dude, Christopher Titus tried to punch you. He tried to punch me too. This isn't like my problem.
Wow. Is he still touring? Or is he still working?
Yes, he's whatever. He's got so many problems. I mean, he had a sitcom for a while.
Yeah,
he's got some specials. But the thing of it is, I've worked with hundreds of comics. I've met thousands. I've only had one comic try to punch me. That was Christopher Titus, right?
What a loser.
As big of an asshole as I am, and I've only had one comic try to punch me, and that comic, I had 6 other comics tell me that he almost punched them too. He almost got in a physical fight with him because the fucking guy likes to fight. That's how he solves all of his fucking problems. If he doesn't win an argument, his argument was clean comedy. I told him, I said, dude, I don't do clean comedy. I like Sam Kinison. I like Bill Hicks. They just say what they want to say, and that's how they talk. And he's like, well, you're never going to get on TV if you don't do clean comedy. I go, dude, I don't watch TV. I don't like TV. Why do you think I'd want to be on TV? I don't even watch it. I listen to The Clash. I like movies. I watch I'll go to a movie. They say fucking movies. They don't say fuck on TV.
Right.
And so anyway,
did you guys have another night of shows to do after he goes to the hotel?
No. I never had to see him again. I had to do. I didn't change a fucking thing in my set.
Nice.
And every night I did my stuff. I said fuck shit. I have this bit. I used to have this bit about movie theater food, and the bit has the girl that works the counter. She's got a strap-on penis, and she's fucking you in the ass because you need to another Snickers bar or something. It's edgy material because my favorite comic was Bill Hicks. But anyway, so he was fuming that whole week. I did not change.
How long ago was
goddamn
this?
thing. Oh, this is years ago,
Okay.
back in the 90s.
Okay.
I played every state in the country. I almost every state. I've never played Hawaii, and I've never played.
When's the last time you were on stage?
Oh, I don't do it as much as I do. I mean, after the movie The Unbookables came out, I became kind of a unbookable comic. It's a whole nother story.
Talk to me about The Unbookables.
Well, I mean, so I kept doing edgy material. Like for instance, I didn't do clean comedy.
Yeah, I follow you.
So in '92, I moved to Seattle, and so when I moved to Seattle, everything started working. Like all my jokes worked. The way I dressed, my character, I was like, wow. Like a lot of my jokes, I had a lot of political stuff that just never really worked in Kansas City or in the Midwest. But once I got to Seattle, all of my jokes worked. Nice. And I found that I could do all my political jokes and I could be as dirty as I wanted to be because I played this club called The Underground. So anyway, I got invited to the Montreal Just for Laughs Festival. I got invited to the Vail Comedy Invitational. I won a contest. One of the things I'm most proud of is Vail. Judy Brown and Bud Friedman came to Seattle, and they were looking for talent. And they had a little contest in Seattle. And so they invited all the big comics in Seattle. I'd been doing comedy maybe 2 or 3 years in Seattle. So people kind of knew who I was, but they knew I was a guy that moved up there. But they also knew that I was a guy doing edgy material.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. People move for comedy all the time.
Right. But I wasn't a Seattle native, but I was still nice to everyone, and everyone was nice to me. There was only 2 comics doing really edgy stuff. It was me and Kathy Sorbo. But everybody else, all the other comics were doing clean comedy in Seattle.
Really?
Right? Yes. Yeah. And this is
No
during the
profanity?
grunge. This is the grunge. Yeah. They're all trying to get on TV.
Oh, right.
And so I would go on stage, I would just do what I do, and I'd get the most laughs because it's a live comedy club. You know, who cares if you say shit or fuck?
That's what we're there for.
Yeah,
It's a laugh.
So I went up against all the headliners in Seattle, and I beat all of them. Like, they were probably pissed at me after that because all of these headliners who were doing clean material, I won that contest, and I beat all of them, And so I got invited. I met Judy Brown. That's when I met Doug Stanhope and Bud Friedman, and so I just I kept doing that style of comedy, picking edgy, controversial topics and trying to push the envelope a little bit, and I got a lot of success in Seattle. I got a lot of auditions. I flew down to LA and did a lot of things, but then after I met Doug Stanhope, he kind of created this group of comics called the Unbookables. And I got a phone call from a director once, and he was wanting to make a documentary about me. And I was like, well, dude, why don't you make a documentary about the Unbookables? And he's like, oh, that's a great idea. So we booked a 3-week tour, and he got a van, and we just went for 3 weeks, and he filmed everything. So
shit.
It's a documentary about what it's like being on the road.
When was this?
This is it was filmed in 2008, but it didn't actually get on. We signed a contract with the distributor in 2018.
Okay.
Like January. It was like the very last part of December 2017. So,
and it's
essentially the movie came out on all of these different platforms like Amazon Prime, Google Play, YouTube, Steam, Barnes and Noble, it's the DVD is everywhere, and the movie is streaming in a lot of different places, and that essentially came out at the very first part of 2018.
Okay, and has it generated some revenue for you or nothing?
No, they made like $300. I mean, that's another streaming story ripoff.
Sure.
Me and the director, we were both on the phone. We're like, well, what are we going to do with this movie? I'm like, look, we're never going to make any money off this movie. We're not going to make any money off of streaming, but let's get a distributor so at least people can see the movie.
Sure.
And it'll give the Unbookables a little bit of fame, and so then we can make money from the live shows, because that's where most artists make their money anyway, is playing live.
Right.
But
you're proud of it. You dig it.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
When the movie came out, I was really proud of it because it kind of encapsulated everything that I was doing, which was edgy material.
Sure.
And so I was in a group of comics, and we'd all been doing edgy material for years. And it's about the struggle of an edgy comic on the road trying to make money.
Sure.
Most club owners, they don't want to deal with it. They don't want anyone pushing the envelope on stage or
so. JamesInman.com. Is it visible there? Is the Unbookables visible there?
Yeah, if you go to my website, JamesInman.com, you can see, there's links to the movie, there's links to my CDs and my book and everything.
So, yeah, you said you had 2 CDs. Are those
those are 2.
Are those sets?
Yeah,
okay.
They're like, I have one CD of like politics and weird shit, and the other CD is about women, relationships, and so I've got
it's stand-up. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All the sex and relationships jokes are on one CD, and the other CD, Pander Monkey, that's all politics and all my edgy stuff.
When were those recorded?
Over the years, I just had different people record me, and so I had a lot of different files on my computer, and I finally kind of released them as 2 CDs at when Bruce Springsteen released those two CDs at the same time. I think one of them was called oh god, now I'm gonna screw up. Tom Waits did the same thing. He released Blood Money and Alice. They're two separate CDs, but he released them at the same time.
Okay, are you a Waits guy?
Oh yeah, I was just listening to "Hang On, Saint Christopher" on the way over here.
Nice.
My favorite Tom Waits album is probably Frank's Wild Years.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite Tom Waits. But like I said, I released both of my CDs at the same time.
Okay.
So they kind of go together.
Sure.
One is about sex, women, relationships, and the other is about politics.
So, is it safe to say then that you're like not gonna gig anymore? You're not gonna get on open mic or anything?
I mean, like it was kind of after. I mean, I was so focused on the movie for so many years, and after the movie came out, there was a lot of jealousy and infighting with the Unbookables. That they're kind of, I don't know. And one of them died. Sean Rouse died. The director died. So another group of them, the thing is, I don't really get along with, some of the people that hang around, Doug.
Oh,
I became friends with Doug early on, and, I was friends with him, but then after Doug became famous, he's surrounded by all these assholes because Doug was a libertarian, and I was never a libertarian, and so I just never really clicked with Doug's audience.
sure.
Like, I've done guest sets for Doug, when he comes into town.
When would you say
Inman, come by? Like, I did a guest set last time Doug was in at Improv, but I've never really killed in front of his audience.
Okay.
Because his audience, they don't get me.
I see.
His whole audience are libertarian. I'm like a communist.
You value your relationship with him, though?
Yeah, because we've been friends for so long.
Okay.
I think I met him in 1992 or 3.
So
I don't know.
Would you say he's famous?
Somewhat. I mean, he's not as famous as Bill Burr, but
Sure.
he's well respected
Sure.
in the industry.
Yeah.
He was one of the producers of The Unbookables. I mean, we would have never been able to make that movie without Doug. And we would have never been able to make that movie without Jeff Pearson, the director. However, the biggest problem with that movie is Jeff Pearson and Doug Stanhope never got along.
Oh.
Jeff Pearson was one of my best friends. I mean, Doug, I mean, he was like one of my peers in comedy. I mean, I liked him and we both did edgy material, but Doug did libertarian edgy material. I did socialist, communist edgy material. Like, I would be making fun of Walmart, and Doug would be like, "Why do you make fun of Walmart?"
Oh, for real?
Yeah, he's got a libertarian brain, dude.
Oh,
I mean, so when I go
that's
on,
not fun.
Well, I mean, his all of his jokes are dog whistle libertarian.
Oh,
like he'll
That's
have a
also
joke
not
about
fun.
he's a great writer and a great performer. But he'll write a joke about how we don't have any starving people in America. You could go to a dumpster. You could go to a dumpster and find food out of a dumpster. Like, Doug doesn't care about the homeless. He doesn't give a fuck.
That's also not fun.
Well, I mean, that's how libertarians are.
Okay,
They're like, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps.
Okay, all right.
Communists are like, we could all work together and fix some of this shit. And Doug's like, oh, communism is bad. Or he doesn't even like liberals because he thinks liberals are communist. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, I'm not a real communist. I'm not technically a communist, but I'm definitely not a libertarian. I mean, I've never voted Republican in my life. So
complete this sentence for me.
Right.
The world would be a better place to live if only...
The world would be a better place to live if only... I don't know. I mean, that's so crazy.
Isn't it?
Okay. I mean, the world would be a better place to live if only America wouldn't go all over the fucking planet with 800 military bases, and like we're like this giant warmongering machine that wants to control everything. I mean, it'd be if there was less war. the world would be a
Fair
better
enough,
place.
man. Amen.
You know,
If you won the lottery tomorrow, how different would your life look?
I don't know. Last time I had a lot of money, I never really bought any drugs or any hookers. The funny thing is because before the times I had a lot of money, like I came into like 10 grand when I won this San Francisco comedy competition. Like before, I was like, man, it's always a joke. Like, let's get some blow and some hookers and party all night. We'll get a limousine. I never did any of that stuff when I had a lot of money.
Okay.
Last time I had a lot of money, like I got inherited, like, something like 10 grand or something. I had like, I don't know. I probably, I've never really had lots of money, but the couple times I had lots of money, I never spent it on drugs and alcohol.
Right, I know, but I mean, like...
And now I look back, I'm like, I wish one of those nights I would have got a fucking 8-ball of blow and a hooker.
Got my dick sucked.
Because I've been talking about it for so long. But prostitution just doesn't turn me on at all. I would end up talking to the prostitute the whole night instead of fucking her.
Yeah.
I mean, I only want to fuck somebody that I click with.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because it's not good sex. If,
if
you're just got someone laying there.
I don't even know at this age if I could get it up for... a non-click.
Yeah,
fuck.
Yeah, all that stuff that women used to tell us when we were 18. Like, well, there's no chemistry. We're like, just suck my cock. What are you talking about? But now when you're 60, you're like, there's got to be something clicking.
You got to really inspire me.
Yeah, we should have listened to them. When we were 18, but we didn't.
So what was this thing we were talking about on the phone when you come to the?
I used to do a set on stage called Songs with Cool Parts.
There you go. That's
right. So I was turned on by Blink-182 had an album that I think it was Enema of the State.
God, they come up so much on this podcast. It totally blows my mind.
Nobody likes them because there's a lot of people that hate Blink-182.
A lot of people are bringing them up because they do like them.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, wow.
And so I like Blink-182 because they have a sense of humor. They remind me of the Beastie Boys. The Beastie Boys had a sense of humor. But when I bought Enema of the State, I loved that album. There's a couple songs on that album that just had like some parts that just make me go crazy while I was driving in the car, singing along, going away to college. I love that song. What's My Name Again? And so I used to go on stage and I'd have this bit that I would do called Songs with Cool Parts. And one of the songs I picked was What's My Name Again by Blink-182. And I used to tell the audience, okay, here's the part that's coming up. I'll tell you when the part's coming up, and this is the cool part. And when the cool part would come up, I'd just dance around on stage, really funny and stupid,
right,
really dumb.
Yeah.
And so I think the reason why people connected to it became a bit that was so funny I couldn't follow it. Like I had to put it at the end of my act because it would get so many laughs that no other bit would follow it, right?
Yeah, you eat shit after
and
it.
everyone, they identified with it because everyone's got that song that they're listening to in the car, and it's just got a cool part in that one song that just makes them go crazy, And so I think I had a Van Morrison song, Real Gone.
Okay.
That was one of the songs with cool parts, and it was... Blink-182, What's My Name Again? And there was another one, the Rockaria from ELO.
Okay.
Which is...
Are these bits on YouTube? Can people find them?
No.
They don't exist anywhere?
No, I mean, this bit that I used to do never ended up on a CD. It never ended up on a video. It was just a bit I did for a couple months.
So Rockaria by ELO?
Yeah. And so I tell the audience where the cool part was and why it was cool, and I just go crazy, and I do a funny dance on stage, and then they would laugh.
I love it. So, that's hilarious. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, man. I think that.
How long have we been talking?
Well,
we've been talking too long.
This has been rolling for 2 hours,
Geez.
but I did, I started to say earlier, and I think we derailed. But when you were telling me that Christopher Titus story about him wanting your material to be clean, I pictured you the first time you're hearing him say that, being like, "Oh, I hope he doesn't see my Facebook page."
Oh, fuck that guy.
No, but I mean, but
What?
the point being, like, you literally give zero fucks on there. You
I'm
will
kind of
say
proud of what I mean,
what is on your mind,
yeah.
whether it's a post of yours or in comments.
You mean on the podcast?
On Facebook.
Oh, on Facebook. Oh, yeah.
Are you podcasting somewhere?
Well, one of the reasons, no, I'm not. I do podcasts, but I'm not doing any podcasts.
Okay.
But I have a lot of followers on Facebook. I get a lot of likes on Facebook because I can. Twitter, it's for people with short attention span.
Sure.
You know, it's just one-liner jokes or whatever. It's got to be a funny one-liner, which I have no problem writing one-liners. But most of my followers on Twitter are Doug Stanhope fans, and they're all libertarian. So actually, what happens is, my jokes on Twitter are completely different from my jokes on Facebook.
Okay.
You know, and I don't know what
You're
it
not
is.
always joking on Facebook, though, are you?
No,
like, you
no,
sometimes
but-
will just rant, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but I've kind of created my own audience on Facebook, it's just nothing against Doug. I love the guy. I've known him for years, but I just don't like his friends. I
Sure,
don't like his fans.
sure.
His fans are mean. They're just mean people.
No, it's
I mean,
not.
I don't like libertarians,
Yeah.
you know, but I like Doug, you know,
So you're not
that's why my jokes are a little more right wing. They're not. I wouldn't say right wing on Twitter. I would say the joke has to be. It can't take a side. It's got to be kind of independent. It's got to be a joke that no one can identify as a liberal or a conservative joke.
Sure.
You know,
Now,
it's got to be something that nobody has heard before. That you can't say, oh, he's a Trump supporter or he's a liberal.
right.
Because people hate liberals so much. I mean, people really hate politics on Twitter. But for some reason on Facebook, I can write whatever I want. And this is one of the things I did on Facebook was a long time ago, I wrote something about, it was during Black Lives Matter. I wrote something about the police. And I had an uncle, you know, comment like, you better not, you know, your cousin, she better not read that because, you know, our son is a cop or something, you know, something like, and I was like, fuck you. I see you one day a year on Thanksgiving. Why are these people following me? So what I did was I blocked every family member.
Oh, for real?
I blocked my mom, my dad. The only family member that I allow to follow me on Facebook is my sister, and she'll give me information on when I need to show up on Christmas or Thanksgiving. But my extended family, I blocked all of them. All the cousins, all the nieces, all the nephews, every single goddamn one of them. Because, you know, when they read my stuff, they didn't get it.
Right.
You know, and they would say stupid shit, and I'm like, fuck them. Because...
So without them seeing you
So
stuff,
now,
do you get along?
Yeah.
with? Okay.
So the reason why I blocked them is because I didn't want them to edit me, because I didn't want to be writing something and then in the back of my head thinking, oh, I wonder how
Uncle
my
Tom's
cousin,
gonna- yeah,
my cousin is in the military. I wonder what she's gonna think about this. No, fuck that. I'll just block them and I'll say whatever the fuck I want
There you
about
go.
the police,
Okay.
about the military, about America, whatever. And so that helped me not edit what I
Okay,
write.
okay.
Because you don't want to edit. You don't want to think while you're
No,
writing.
no,
You just
no,
wanna
no,
write
no.
and then edit later, and you know. And so, I now on Facebook, I easily get at least 50 likes per everything I post.
Okay.
if not 100.
Sure.
You know.
So
I mean,
you're not podcasting, but you've been on some podcasts.
Yeah, I've been
Is
on
that-
a lot of podcasts. Yeah.
How many is a lot?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I can't even count.
Like
I mean,
double
people ask
digits?
me to do
Okay,
podcasts
okay.
Because I'm a comedian and I've been in a movie and stuff.
Now, when we were talking on the phone, you bristled for a second because you said, "Now I've been on some podcasts where the thing just kind of." So I hope
that happened one time.
I hope that I'm not.
No, I told you we should just take all that politics out. Let's just talk about the music because all that politics, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to understand it. I mean, they're going to either call me a Trump supporter or that I'm crazy.
I think people will understand it.
Dude, there's so many people. Maybe it's just Twitter. I don't know. But there are a lot of people that support that that war in Ukraine.
Well, I think that haven't we been conditioned to think that the Ukrainians need our support and need our help to fend off this big bad? Isn't that the message we've been given?
Yeah,
that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah,
I'm not saying.
Do you believe it?
I don't. I've never thought about it.
Oh, you've never
until today. Until
you.
Well,
you didn't know about the Nazi problem.
I don't know
in
shit
Ukraine?
about shit.
Oh, you don't.
Yeah.
Oh, well, if anyone tells you it's
what is the? Did you watch Ozark?
Yes.
I don't know shit about fuck or
okay.
Fuck about whatever Ruth
no,
says.
I mean I've read the history of the CIA, and yes, the U.S. has been supporting those Nazi groups in the Ukraine since 1951. So these were usually Nazis hate communists, and yes, I know that Zelensky is Jewish, but that doesn't mean that they don't have Nazis in Ukraine. These are not like neo-Nazis. These are like old school Nazis where their grandfather was a fucking real ass Nazi. You know what I mean? Not a German Nazi, because when Germany went through Ukraine during Operation Barbarossa, at least half the country collaborated with the Nazis to fight against the Russians. You know, did you know Finland actually was Finland actually fought on the side of the Axis. They didn't stop. They didn't start fighting against the Nazis until 1944. Finland still has their Air Force still has a swastika.
For real?
For real,
wow.
Dude. It's either one of those. I'd have to look it up. I don't want to bore you.
Sure.
But one of the topics, when I read books, I read every goddamn book. If I like a subject, I get hooked on a subject, like the Nazis, the history of the Nazis. I can't count how many books I've read about the Nazis and World War II. It's like a subject.
Like dozens?
More than dozens.
Wow.
Yeah. And dude, it's creepy what happened after the war, where the Nazis went, the rat line,
I bet.
how the Catholic Church helped them.
Did they?
The Catholic Church helped them. Yes.
Fuck.
A lot of them moved to Argentina and Chile, and the CIA used a lot of them during the Cold War in Central America.
Sure.
Fucking Klaus Barbie actually helped start the goddamn cocaine trafficking, so yeah, that's one of the topics I know a lot about: the CIA, Nazis, and UFOs and religion.
Okay,
so
you should come back and talk to me about UFOs and religion.
No, I want you to cut all of this out. I want you to cut all this out. Let's just talk about music. Cut all the politics out, because people are going to think I'm crazy.
Okay.
You know what? I don't really care. I don't care what people think of me. If they think I'm crazy, fine. If they want to live with their fucking head in the sand, okay. But if you're curious at all, you don't need to look it up online, or you don't need to go to YouTube. Just go to the library.
Right.
Well,
last thing for you, Attell, fan, not a fan. Do you ever?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, he doesn't. Dude, after Bill Hicks, nobody can. There's never been a comic as good as Bill Hicks. Everybody is just kind of a hack.
Does Attell rip off Bill Hicks?
No.
Okay.
But he doesn't. When I listen to Dave Attell, it sounds like he's just telling jokes. He doesn't do any groundbreaking shit.
What's wrong with that?
Well, Hicks was talking about, goddamn, when I first saw Hicks, this was before any comic. I'd never seen a comic talk about the Bible. Actually, first time I saw Hicks, he had like 10 minutes on the Bible, dude. Okay. Like at the time, the only other comic that was talking about God or the Bible was Sam Kinison. So, but they both started together. But I mean, with Hicks, he had insightful jokes. He was fighting against the assholes of this world that want to enslave everybody. And he evolved his comedy helped people evolve. I mean, to me, Dave Chappelle is just a joke teller.
Yeah.
He's just a creative joke teller. Jesselnick doesn't turn me on. I don't see him as being edgy. He's just he's a guy that.
So for you, a comic has to be edgy to have value or to be good.
I guess it's the difference between the Clash and Lady Gaga.
Okay.
Like, does Lady Gaga say anything important?
I don't think she's trying to, is she?
No, yeah, but I mean, no, but like the Clash, you listen to their lyrics, they're talking about Sandinista, they're talking about, like, the Clash only wrote one love song. All of their songs are about politics.
Right.
I mean, Joe Strummer said if it's not about God or law or the government, what's the point of writing the goddamn song?
I was just watching somebody talk about Joe Strummer.
Joe Strummer, yeah, he's like one of my heroes.
Okay.
You know, so Bill Hicks, Joe Strummer.
It's Huberman from Stanford. He was on Segura's Two Bears One Cave.
Oh, really?
This week, last week, and fantastic. I mean, he's really sharp and everything.
I'll tell you a comic I do like, Eddie Pepitone.
Okay.
I like him.
Okay.
Eddie Pepitone. I like some of Bill Burr's stuff. One thing that's gonna really probably surprise you is I seriously like Kathy Griffin. I think she's funny because she does kind of like what I do. What I started doing kind of pure improv on stage where I was just talking off the top of my head, and she's got the Guinness Book World Record. She's got the record of the most stand-up specials of any stand-up comedian. So she's got some like 25 stand-up comedy specials
that are all
and they're
30
all
minutes or an
material.
hour or
yeah.
Okay.
And so it's easy for her because she just, if you watch her, watch one of her sets, or not her set, but watch one of her specials. She's just up there winging it. She's talking off the top of her head, and she goes off on celebrities.
Oh,
so that's why I like when she makes fun of these celebrities.
Sure.
And she kind of takes them down a notch.
So
I wouldn't say that she's like a Bill Hicks, but she makes me laugh.
Has anybody ever told you that you remind them of Attell?
Yeah. People have told me, but they always say, but your jokes don't remind me of Attell.
No.
But
the personality of him that you get on stage.
Kind of.
Sort of look.
I've had people mention that,
Sure.
but I've had. I don't know. I tried to be more like myself. I didn't want to become like Bill Hicks.
Right. Well, we're at 2.5. My kids are going to be here soon.
Please, let's end this.
Have you not enjoyed yourself at all?
Yes, I enjoyed myself.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to come across as crazy.
No, you're not. You're not. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Talk to you later.
Okay.
JamesInman.com.
Should I have worn the goddamn headphones?